some would argue that the millennial generation started the trend of depressed humor, but whether Generation Z adopted it or not, jokes...
What do you mean millennials started the depressed humor shit? What? You meaning to tell me that motherfuckers in the 1200s weren't making jokes about how sad they were? I don't believe this. Why is Gen Z humor so weird by Mr. Sweet? It's a good question. I mean, honestly, many people have been asking. Holy shit, a new conure upload, that's crazy. Anyway, many people have been asking, why is Gen Z humor so weird? First, and Mr. Sweet might have the answers, but I am not too sure. I mean, we got a lot of views here, so that means it must be good. In fact, that means the opinions must be correct.
Generation Z humor. What?
True.
What is that? Why? People find
Why
this
not?
funny?
Yes.
Isn't Gen Z just a movie about some zombies?
Uh-oh. Stinky.
Here's a real take. I have never found the uh-oh stinky meme to be funny. Ever. Not once, not ever. I've never seen an uh-oh stinky meme and laugh at it. Not even exhale out of my nose. Maybe that's just me. I don't know if any other people agree.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Mr. Sweet, and
I'm
today
Mr. Conure.
I'm going to be giving you a guide into Generation Z's humor.
Oh, thank God, I needed this.
But before we start talking
I
about
don't go on the
Generation
internet
Z,
ever.
we need to make sure that you don't confuse Generation Z with Millennials. You see, Generation Z started in 1995 and has continued through today.
Ostensibly. So I was born in late 95, which puts me right in the middle of the 90s, and technically makes me a Zoomer. But if Millennial ends at 1984, and there are some sources out there that'll claim Millennial stops around 95-ish, but I feel like I'm close enough that like I'm simultaneously in like a quantum superposition of being either Generation Z, as the bongers call it, or a Millennial. I actually don't know. So essentially what I call myself is a Zoomer Millennial, because I'm essentially both dying of old age currently and also still a child, at least, you know, in the memes that I enjoy.
Through today. Millennial humor was much more simple and could be represented by the easy-to-understand memes of iFunny, such as the Velociraptor, wherein
Nice.
a Velociraptor scratching his chin would ponder...
These are called, as far as I'm aware, advice animals, but they weren't always animals. So you had Foul Bachelor Frog, which was essentially a way for internet-addicted neckbeards to tell on themselves, but make it funny, make it a point of pride, and share some humor about the situation. So if you look at it, there's actually some good ones. And a lot of you could probably relate to these. Answer phone at 3 p.m. Try and sound like you didn't just wake up. Very true. Who can relate? I've got a bad sleep schedule. I've got depression. So that affects that a little bit. Girl is nice to you, imagine life together. I don't think that's Foul Bachelor Frog. I think that's standard behavior because women are very powerful psychologically. They are so beautiful that they'll just infect your mind with that beauty and it becomes hard to escape from. So because of that, I'm gay, just to save myself the pain. But anyway, I'm just kidding. No clean plates, clipboard of mashed potatoes. I've never gotten to this level. And then finally, the coup de grace, the pièce de résistance, identifies with every one of these, changes nothing about lifestyle. True, that's what it's for. It's just there to make fun of yourself, but share it with others for fun. You also had Velociraptor, you also had Success Kid. This is him now. Feel old yet? But let us proceed with the meme.
such questions as, if two lefties had an argument, which one would be right? Or the collection of meme templates known as Rage Comics, featuring such classics
That's
as
not the one.
Me Gusta and a troll face. Some would say it wasn't incredibly funny,
That's
but
the
you
one.
would breathe out of your
Sorry.
nose slightly, and that was enough for them. So
True.
how is Generation Z's humor any different? Well, to understand that, you have to understand the background of Generation Z. They were born into the age of iPhones,
True.
iPods, iPads, and instant
Goddamn
connection to the
kids.
internet at nearly all times. This unprecedented accessibility, coupled with a little bit too much free time, is what led to the first influence of Generation Z's humor.
You think so?
When you hear a joke from a friend, it's funny that first time, and then maybe it's funny one more time when you reference it. However, imagine a bunch of people who you don't particularly care for come up and they all start telling the exact same joke.
Yeah, that joke was funny the first 400 times you said it.
This is exactly
Holy shit, we really are trying to appeal to millennials as well with the goddamn annoying orange reference. What the hell? Also, this is, I think, a really good encapsulation of what we're talking about right here, about the oversaturation, to the point where there are people like that exist like this. There are people that will just repeat memes to you that they saw on the internet in real life.
What's going on, Julia? It is Wednesday, my dudes. So, what'd you get for lunch? Cookies again? Epic bra moment. I got freaking vegetables again. Big oof. Well, maybe after we're done eating, we could play some Smash Bros on your Nintendo Switch.
It's so good. Is that J-Reg? It might as well be. Anyway, I think it's pretty good. I like how aggressive Switch is. Listen, if you're gonna be a Switch, you have to be aggressive sometimes. That's kind of part of the label. That's kind of part of the definition. Anyway, let's continue.
How the internet works. One person comes up with a meme and then about 1 billion other people repost it continuously with slight variations.
True.
This overexposure of jokes is what leads to the concept of oversaturation, which is a concept that members of Gen Z have to deal with on a near hourly basis. Being that this humor is consumed so rapidly, its life cycle is greatly diminished, leaving few-month-old trends to feel like they came out decades ago. This phenomenon brought rise to another staple of Generation Z humor.
Are you winning, son?
Oh, Pierre, you want to come out here?
Open Gangnam Style.
It's cool to like things when they're cool, but it's much cooler to wait until it's completely left everyone's brain just for you to bring it back in and enjoy it ironically. Similar to the concept of movies that are so bad they're good.
Oh, hi, Mark. Oh my god!
I can't
They're eating her, and then they're gonna eat me.
believe you committed suicide. I cannot believe you committed suicide.
Bro,
How
I
could-
will kill you if you commit suicide, man. It's the
Could you have
vibe.
done this? How could you have committed suicide?
You enjoy it because it is awful, and making fun of it and pretending to enjoy it is, in its own right, entertaining. And this can apply to jokes and memes and music even. This is
Why?
what-
So here's my question. So I'm seeming to agree with a lot of what I'm hearing here. Don't get me wrong, but why does this guy look like he's in an ISIS torture beheading video? Why are we talking about why Gen Z humor is so weird? And you are in literally a cave in the mountains. I guess an Anprim would have some things to say about Gen Z humor and the way that it proliferates on the internet. That does make sense to me. So I don't, maybe it's that.
what allows outdated memes to receive a second life under the guise of ironic enjoyment, being only now that they're so unfunny and so unpopular that they can once again become funny. Sort of like recycling.
Not good. Delicious. Finally, some good food.
And sometimes the fact that the joke doesn't make any sense is itself the punchline.
True.
Take, for example, the xie hao piao trend on TikTok. In 2020, there was a TikTok trend wherein people would use the chorus of the song xie hao piao as the punchline for their joke. There wasn't inherently anything funny about the joke, and even when you translate it back to English, it
The
didn't
Taliban kidnapped him to figure out how to appeal to the youths. That makes sense.
make the memes make sense. But the fact that nobody really knew what it meant and that it was so ill-fitting as the punchline to a joke is what inherently made it funny.
雪花飘飘，北风萧萧。
It also helps that this is a song that most people admit to enjoying, at least ironically. This trend was
Wait,
later
what's wrong with the song? Wait, what do you mean some people at least admit enjoying ironically? The song is fine. Wait, what is wrong with the problem with these memes is not the song itself, if you're going to describe a problem with the memes. It's the fact that the song doesn't really make sense for what's happening in the meme. The song is fine. What do you mean, at least ironically, people are enjoying this song? This song's good.
replaced by Baka Mitai, a song from a game called Yakuza 0 wherein your character goes to a karaoke bar and sings a deeply emotional Japanese song.
Wait, one final nail in this meme's coffin. August 9th, 2020. This is old Conure. I didn't make this, somebody else in my community did. I just reposted. It's so fucking cursed. Look at this. This is so good. This is a good face. Anyway.
Gen Z is the generation of limitless options. They were never forced to just listen to the radio. They could pick from any song ever created and listen to it whenever they wanted.
Which is a good thing. I'm not saying that he's saying it's a bad thing, but it's a good thing. And don't ever forget that. More variety in your music is a good thing. Having to be shackled to the capitalist enterprise that is radio stations playing Billboard Hot 100s and having to like crate dig for vinyls and go to the goddamn FYE for CDs that might not be played on the radio. Having instant access to a variety of genres of music that you might not otherwise, I very much appreciate as an enjoyer of music.
And because so much variety exists...
Bandcamp is unironically incredible. True! I have bought a lot of music off of Bandcamp. In fact, I listen to a lot of music on this stream, twitch.tv/ConnureCC. I stream every other day, 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time is on the stream, target 9 Eastern. I listen to music that I bought off of Bandcamp from independent artists. Not only do I financially support them, I play it on stream and give them essentially free advertising because I shout them out constantly because people are always asking me what I'm listening to. And 2, I just like to share the music I give to people. But anyway, Bandcamp is good. I agree.
On the flip side of that idea, mainstream content is despised.
Good. Also, because uniqueness is valued, that's why I do the content that I do. It is a bit of a contradiction, but because I am my own individual, because I am one of billions of people on this earth, I happen to have my own beliefs and opinions. And because of this, what I've chosen to do for my content is I watch other people's content and talk over it and pause it every few minutes.
Trends like dabbing, the Harlem Shake, and Fortnite were all completely ruined by their mainstream use in media,
Bro.
such as being featured on major news networks and being referenced by their parents. So when a song or meme that they've seen before is used by, say, a company to promote a product, it immediately becomes untouchable. And at this point, it's no longer cool to like it, even ironically. But now, even in social circles, if someone has seen a meme before, it no longer has value. You've had to seen it somehow at the point of conception, and if you're late to the party, you automatically suck. So if...
I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I also just don't have a big friend circle that I share memes with. What is interesting is that sometimes people will share like memes with me, like IRL. So for instance, Vaush, he's like, look at this meme. And I'm like, oh, I've seen that one. That's really funny. And while it is true that I have seen the meme he's showing me, and it is funny, it kind of cheapens the fact that somebody thought of you enough to want to share the meme with you, to get you to laugh, and you're just like, oh, I've seen that one. It's kind of shitty. So what I try to do instead is just pretend I've never seen it before, which is, I think, a better play. You're being facetious. You're not being truthful, but I think it makes the other person feel better. And for that, it makes you feel better. And I think that's a good thing.
trends like video games and celebrities and songs and even meme templates are hated just because they're mainstream, how can any humor exist at all? Any joke or style that's been around is now considered completely invalid by Gen
There's nothing new under the sun.
Z, so they're forced to constantly adapt to a new idea of what is considered funny.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there. I was just doing some super crazy casual Super Mario 64 speedrun practice. Now, I know there's a lot of you out there who don't hang out on my Twitch streams, and that's totally cool. But you might also be wondering, hey, I really enjoy this Conure person's content. How can I financially support them? Well, do I have great news for you, little one? I have a Patreon at patreon.com/ConnureCC. You can support me for as little as $2 a month. That's right. Look, there's an image right here. Hyperaggressive put up. Or as much as $20 per month. So crazy cool. Wow. Whatever you desire. It's truly up to you. I would really appreciate the support because I do be having bills to pay, and it would be a big help to allow me to continue pumping out content for your silly little eyeballs. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to my super casual playthrough here, but check the Patreon and enjoy the video as well. Beans.
Take a look at this picture. This was for a brief time considered the embodiment of Gen Z humor. But why? What is the significance of the statement, me and the boys at 2 a.m. looking for beans? What even is this image? Well, this is considered funny for a few reasons. For starters, it takes a phrase used frequently, me and the boys, and then subverts the direction of the joke that you would, as the reader, suspect. It adds an odd time to be doing anything, 2 a.m., and an action, looking for beans. Beans exist.
Aha! Beans do exist, that is true, and I agree with that, but I think a subversion of expectations has always existed, or at least has existed for a long time in comedy and funny things in general. So like, even that's not new, because nothing is new under the sun.
For a brief time as the universal funny word. In the early 2000s, the funny word was potato, and so the use of the word—
Is that true? Man, I'm trying to think back.
The food itself and images inherently added an air of randomness to catch the reader off guard and evoke a sense of humor.
I guess so.
The image itself, being frightening, adds a sense of edginess, while the poor quality, in fact it's completely unrelated to the caption, creates a sense of rebellion to the standards of modern
Oh no,
humor.
XD random is obviously the type beat we're operating with here. Like, but yeah, bacon, stuff like, yeah. It's a lot of like Invader Zim, Scene Girl type beat. That makes a lot more sense to me than potato by itself. You know, when does the narwhal bacon? Any Redditors get that ref? Sorry.
Which brings us to our next topic.
Sure don't wanna die, yeah, when you sure don't wanna die, yeah.
I don't wanna die, but I don't wanna live.
I just wanna feel something! I just wanna feel something!
Gen Z also has some of the highest mental health issues of any generation. They're plagued with things like depression, social anxiety, and thanks to growing up with access to endless information, existential dread. So how does this relate to humor? Well, these problems and fears are
and also a growing understanding of the fact that capitalism might not be the best organization of our economy to suit the needs of everybody that has to live within it. That could also be part of it.
Directly influencing this generation's
and feeling powerless to do anything about that.
comedy. Take for example the popular subreddit called 2MeIRL 4MeIRL. Nearly every post is about depression, suicide, loneliness, or social anxiety. And so even for the members of the generation not experiencing these problems, their humor is equally influenced by it merely due to the exposure caused by the memes being in circulation. However, some would argue that the millennial generation started the trend of depressed humor, but whether Generation Z adopted it or not, jokes—
What do you mean millennials started the fucking depressed humor shit? What? You meaning to tell me that motherfuckers in the 1200s weren't making jokes about how sad they were? I don't believe this. That has to be much more of an older occurrence. Think they mean in meme culture? You think memes didn't exist back then? You really think memes did not exist way back when? Millennials invented memes? Is that your take? Modern meme culture. Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Started the trend of depressed humor.
Fire is a meme, true. And it's fucking hilarious. Imagine that. You're just two dumbasses, okay? Slapping sticks together, and then you're going like this with it real quick, and it's like, oh my god, it's heating up, and then poof, it becomes a fire. Wait, how was fire discovered? Was it like lightning or some shit? And then I don't know. Regardless, it's crazy. That's funny as hell.
But whether Generation Z adopted it or not, jokes about mental illness are still incredibly present throughout Gen Z humor, if not somewhat more subtle.
I'm currently back in my favorite place, the porta potty that I was at last week.
Wow! You say peacock and no one bats an eye. But you say poopcock and everyone loses their mind.
True.
Since this generation is between the ages
I think that's just a funny meme. I don't think they were trying to do anything deep with that. Like it being like a depression meme. I think it's just funny. Poopcock? That's hilarious.
25 and 0, most of the humor is meant for its own age group. Gen Z has an inherent drive to be counter to the popular culture. But while earlier generations might have gotten mohawks, dyed their nails black.
So has anyone ever been so far as to do anyway? If it is the case that Gen Z does have this inherent drive to be counter to the popular culture, I think there's an interesting thing we can look for in that. And maybe I'm getting a little too deep with this, and maybe I'm completely off base. But here's the idea, okay? You are a little Zoomer, all right? And you have instant access to the internet. Meaning that your local community online is huge. So like you have a bunch of other people around you at all times that you may not have even met, but they exist. Now go back to the days before internet wasn't readily available or even existed. What is that local community when you're not on the internet? It's your school. It's your family. It's any extracurriculars you might do. It's any stores you might visit whom you may know the people working there. It's a very small collection of people, un pequeño, very tiny, where if you're having to compare yourself against those people, you can find some unique elements of yourself. You can stand out in a good way if you do some other kind of things that the other people aren't doing. But if we go back to the very vast internet community that you happen to be a part of, there are hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of people that you will either compare yourself to or be compared to by other people, or both. Probably both. Meaning that the ability to become a unique person and stand out, should that be something you're interested in, it becomes a lot harder. And as a result, you have to do a lot more to try to get that to happen. And I think going against what's popular, being a contrarian, and other such things is a decent way to do that. Now, of course, that has always happened. People who are in the counterculture have always existed. But I think you see it a lot more, especially in terms of like branding for oneself, that I think some of that could be described by the phenomenon I'm thinking about.
Generation Z has to be much more covert about their rebellion, being as they're constantly being shut down.
I matter!
Shut up, Meg, you don't matter.
Because gone are the days where a guy named Chad would come up to you, flick you in the chest, and call you a dork. Now that everyone is on the internet all the time, they have thousands—
Yep, they're doing that to you instead. Internet bullies are everywhere, and listen, more power to them, as long as you're not being weird about it. I'm just kidding. Don't bully people, it's messed up. However, you should bully politicians, that is true.
Of people constantly telling them what they should wear, watch, eat, and that what they like is something they should be ashamed of.
Do you deserve rights based off your favorite anime?
And if they aren't told directly, others might be publicly shamed or embarrassed, leaving the people of Gen Z to be more self-conscious, hoping that they don't one day end up on a fail compilation, Twitter page, or harassing subreddit.
How can you look like that and not be insecure? This kid needs cancer to hit him and his whole family.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you for thinking of me and my family.
I love this recipe. It would be fun to show people how to make it so that they can enjoy
These
it.
cookies were not good. Nobody gonna mention how she's using a liquid measuring cup and not a dry ingredient cup.
But the question is, who fucking cares? Like, who lets these comments get to them? It's like, it's still engagement. They're not overtly threatening your life or the lives of your family, which is of course where you would want to draw some line, or perhaps before that, obviously. So like these kinds of comments, it's engagement. If you can parlay it effectively, should you be wanting to build a brand or make money online? All publicity is good publicity. To an extent. People understand. This is why cancel culture doesn't really exist. Because you get to the point where like you're like Dave Chappelle, and getting canceled is actually a benefit to your publicity, to your relevance. Like, I don't know. I'm finding it hard to care. Though, of course, there are people that do care about seeing these things. In my opinion, you should try your best not to, but it's not just that easy. But I don't know.
I made them and they sucked. Here's an actually good recipe.
This constant fear of rejection has caused a generation to resort to introversion and thusly awkwardness. And most of all, they've had to resort to different ways of expressing themselves and fighting societal norms. Such as distorting the audio of the punchline, which is funny because I said so.
Pause.
No, but actually this trend of low quality equals funny is incredibly popular purely for the reason of subverting comedic norms, such as distorting audio.
What have we learned? Absolutely nothing. Thank you for coming.
So what have we learned? If it's popular, it's no longer funny. If it was popular a long time ago, it's funny again. If you can get away with saying that it's ironically funny, it's funny. If the punchline doesn't inherently make any sense, it's funny. If something's considered incredibly unfunny, it's funny. But also remember that there's nothing that Gen Z likes more than changing and hating things. So this video is likely to become obsolete within a couple of weeks. But until then, here's your guide to Generation Z's humor. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, don't stop party rocking, or you might make me spill my beans all over the place. Comically large spoon, my friends. Have a good one.
Lol. TikTok is fucked, to be honest. The comments are as bad as 4chan in terms of made up shit and NetHum, but it's not even intentional. Well, TikTok in itself is just like a garbage platform. The whole point of TikTok is literally monkey see, monkey do. Like, you're literally supposed to, like, it was built literally off of the idea that you just copy what other people are doing. And that's essentially what we're looking at when it comes to the oversaturation and memes in this video. It's a platform explicitly built for that purpose, where other platforms might just have those memes be popular. It's like a crystallization of what we're talking about in a single platform, which would make sense for why there's a lot of trash in it. Vine was better. I feel like I've seen people say that Vine is like overhyped in people's nostalgia, but I don't know. I was not on Vine. I was just seeing Vine reposted elsewhere, like Vine clips reposted elsewhere. So I don't know. I think Vine had better memes, people were more creative. Well, that's because it came first. And the idea of Vine was not to copy each other. Like there's inbuilt functionality to TikTok as an app that facilitates the copying and remixing of what other people are doing. I don't know if Vine had that. I know that did exist on Vine. People did that. They made their take on other people's Vines as Vines. But I think because it was first and it was of a different era and it was new. Because people will always reference Vine to TikTok, but what do they reference Vine to? Nothing. At least not immediately. So There's more saturation on TikTok. It's essentially what happens with like movies and music for nostalgia, and that the good stuff rises to the top and you just forget all of the dog shit that existed then and you just don't remember it. That just seems to be how it works. Because I'm sure there's a lot of trash on Vine as well. It just wasn't as saturated as TikTok because it wasn't as popular and is gone now. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. This video's conure callout is Viathan. Thanks so much for the support. You've been in almost every single one of these random drawings, and you were finally randomly selected. Feels good, man. If you would like to be the next conure callout, all you gotta do is follow me on Twitter, @ConureCC, retweet my video links when they go live. Wow, that's so crazy. It's the same thing every time. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, put all notifications on when you ring the bell, leave a like if you like, comment something nice and sweet down below, or don't. I'm not your mom, but I do have intimate relations with her.